talk digestion. So we're going to ignore the mechanical part of digestion. We're strictly going to look at the chemical part of digestion. We break up the chemical part of digestion based off of which macromolecule we're actually talking about: carbohydrates, lipids, or proteins. Chemical digestion of carbohydrates begins as soon as food enters the mouth, with chemical digestion through saliva, in particular salivary amylase. Salivary amylase is going to split apart large polysaccharides into oligosaccharides, and oligosaccharides into disaccharides. So it's going to take a starch and chop it into maltose. Maltose is a glucose-glucose dimer. The principal enzymes that we have at play here, and you have the table in the packet. We have amylase. There are two principal types of amylase. We have salivary amylase. We have pancreatic amylase. The only difference between them is where they come from. We have sucrase. Sucrase is going to break up the sugar, sucrose. Lactase is going to break up lactose. Maltase is going to break up maltose. Alpha-dextrinase is going to break up dextral bonds and pectyl bonds in large polymers. So it's going to break up large polymers by splitting up where oligosaccharide units happen to be. Carbohydrate digestion and carbohydrate absorption is a highly water-dependent reaction. It's one of the reasons why if you go eat a whole thing of like the Pez or the sweet tart sugars, all of a sudden you get dry mouth. The reason why I get dry mouth is because you had so much water having to go into the initiation of digestion of those things. So if we look at it in terms of how it comes about, we digest a polysaccharide. The polysaccharide is going to interact with lingual or salivary amylase and then pancreatic amylase, and it's going to break up into its oligosaccharide components. The oligosaccharide is going to interact with alpha-dextrinase, which is going to break the alpha glucose bonds, forming into the disaccharide components, in which we have sucrose, maltose, and lactose as the principal disaccharide components. Sucrose interacts with sucrase to form fructose and glucose. Maltose interacts with maltase to form two elements of glucose. Lactose interacts with lactase to form glucose and galactose. People who are lactose intolerant, the cells that produce lactase stop producing lactase. We are genetically, and most mammals are genetically preset to have those cells stop producing lactase as weaning from breastfeeding takes place. And if they completely stop, usually around the age of 2, there was a mutation that occurred within a group of people within the Ruhr Valley of Europe and in Mongolia, China, in Central Asia, because they started to herd cattle, high lactose milk. The people who had that mutation was able to digest the dairy milk, and they had an evolutionary advantage within their population. And so people who are able to continue to digest dairy products, in particular people who are lactose tolerant, have that mutation, and you can trace that lineage back. People who don't come from those regions tend to have lactose issues, whether they're lactose sensitive or they're lactose intolerant. Each one of these monosaccharides will then be absorbed through various types of transporters.